Part 27. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 261. Wen Yu was socializing with MRSG at Kui's house when suddenly the girl came to tell her that a man named Mu Ling was looking for her at the second gate. Having doubts in his heart, he came out in a hurry. Mu Ling had a strange look on her face. She came up and whispered a few words in her ear. Wen Yu was shocked and quickly asked the girl from the Kui family to go to MRSG and said, "I'll deal with the emergency first and then go home by myself." Then, he took Laba into the car and went directly back to the yard where Yanzu lived. Hu Fei and Sun Ying are in the front yard. Girl, seeing her coming, Sun Ying stood up. Wen Yu asked, "Are you okay?" Sun Ying said, "There is a slight injury." Zuzu was behind, a little frightened, but not injured. After coming back, I went directly to Mr. Zhang and told him the whole story. He took people there directly and returned. Take Li Zhang. You go and see Miss Yan first, and we'll talk later. Good. After entering the backyard, Master Qing also came back. Zuzu is okay, she was a little frightened. Zuzu, when you came through the door. Yanzu was a little wilted, and her eyes were a little red when she saw Wen Yu. Ew. Are you scared? Are you injured? Wen Yu sat next to her, holding her hand and looking up and down. I'm fine, Yin Huan and Master Sun are both injured. I saw Master Sun ahead. He's not seriously injured. Where is Yin Huan? Jin Huan replied from the side, there is a cut on my arm and it has been wrapped with medicine. Don't worry. Master Qing said, I asked the doctor to prescribe a tranquilizer, and I am just taking it. He said that he would be fine after drinking the medicine and taking a nap. Zuzu, just rest at home for 2 days. Oh, you go out first, I'll say a few words to Ayu. When everyone went out, Yanzu pulled Wen Yu. Ayu, do you think it was because I wanted to recognize Mr. Wen as my foster father? In the temple, I only drew lots. I have never drawn a lot sign up. Wen Yu smiled, silly girl, how can you believe this? These people today must have blocked the road and robbed them. Zhang Zhongqing has already led people to investigate, and the bad guys can't escape. Don't think too much about anything else. About Mr. Wen, he is a good man. I feel that you are always happy in front of him. That's why I thought it would be a good thing to have a foster father. However, there is no rush, let's see what his idea is first. Okay. Yanzu leaned tiredly on Wen Yu's shoulder, I'm really scared today, I'm afraid I'll never see you again. Wen Yu's heart ached, no, you should take a good rest during this period and don't go out. Thank you for the reinforcements coming today. From what Jin Huan said, it seems that he recognizes Gu Yu. Do you recognize Gu Yu? When you became even more confused, can you let Mu Ling accompany you? I have to go ahead and ask them. If you don't want to eat, just drink some porridge. Okay, go ahead. When you came to the front, Master Sun, Gu Yu, thank you for today. I'll thank you in advance. Sun Ying quickly stood up and said, this is my duty, I don't deserve your thanks. Hu Fei sat there without moving and nodded. When you sat down and said, Master Sun, please tell me first. Sun Ying told the whole story in detail. When you kept looking at Hu Fei, Gu Yu, you look familiar to me. But I can't remember where I've seen you before. This is just a cliché, I really don't know who he is. In fact, it's normal not to recognize Hu Fei. We only met him once and she just looked at Yang Rishi. Hu Fei slowly pulled off the blue scarf covering his head, revealing a head of white hair. When you felt surprised, but still didn't react. Sun Ying, on the other hand, was stunned, thinking of a certain situation. He suddenly realized and said excitedly, is your surname Hu? My name is Hu Fei, Hu Fei said calmly. Only then did Wen Yu react, Mr. Hu. Some people also call it that. Sun Ying suddenly stood up, he saw a celebrity. I heard this morning that my husband is a good swordsman. I saw it with my own eyes today. I am really lucky. Originally, it was a bit strange, how can you hold down 3 of them by one person? Hu Fei said. Today, Master Sun stepped forward bravely even though he knew he was outmatched. I also admire you. Especially, you held off one person so that we could finally wait for rescue. Sun Ying was praised by Hu Fei, and she blushed and giggled. Where is it? Sir, Mr. came in time. Mr. Hu, how come you are here? When you was confused. I don't know how much Mrsg Wu knows about Hu's past. He was very frank, my wife passed away unexpectedly, and I can't accept it. I got confused and left home. I can't remember when and how I arrived in the capital. When I regained consciousness, I was already with Miss Yanzu. The past flashed back like a tide, when you went through it quickly, and then, she suddenly thought, then the person who appeared today came to you. Hu Fei shook his head. To be honest, their scent is a bit familiar to me. But today, it's not for me. It should be for Miss Yanzu. Sun Ying quickly answered, girl, what Mr. Hu said makes sense. He analyzed the man's intention to take Yanzu away again. They didn't say anything and went directly to the carriage. Although Mr. Hu was beside the carriage, they didn't pay attention to him at first. Hu Fei also nodded. When I started, they were not prepared, so I was able to hurt one person first. Moreover, judging from the skills and behavior of these people, they don't look like ordinary thieves. But Yanzu, who can do this to her? When you murmured. One of the things that Yanzu has experienced recently is meeting Chi Yu at the Chi family. One is to recognize Wen Ruoqing as his adoptive father. Could it be that the Wen family knew that they wanted to recognize their adopted daughter, but someone was unwilling to do so, so they took action? Hu Fei shook his head again. Such personnel are not the guards around ordinary officials. However, although they are not weak, they are not top-notch assassins. Wen Yu thought to himself, is that Chi Yu? Hu Fei said, Master Sun, I have a few words that I want to say to Mrsg Wu alone. His current attitude is different from the dull one before. It is full of momentum and unquestionable. Sun Ying quickly stood up and said, go outside and have a look. And hurried out. Hu Fei continued, 2 years ago, I encountered an assassination attempt. There were 7 or 8 people on the other side, 2 of whom were top killers. The rest seemed to have been trained together with today's Mrsg Wu. You may not understand that we are people who can observe and have deep intuition, and intuition is very important. If you are right, these people may be related to Prince Wu's mansion. Prince Wu's mansion? How could Prince Wu's mansion harm Yanzu? Wen Yu was even more surprised. The Prince of Yongqing County wants to avenge Wen Huan? Can you? And if there is anything, he will come at me. I'm fine. Those people wanted to her away, not kill her, otherwise. In fact, he was also afraid. If those people wanted to kill someone, they couldn't stop them at that time. In a small but very exquisite house in the north of the city, Prince Yongqing was looking at the people in front of him with a livid face. Are you okay? Going back to your highness, my subordinates saw that there were no mistakes. 3 of them died on the spot. Those who escaped saw no hope and committed suicide. The group did not stay where they were and went straight into the city. When people came from the yamen, there were already many passers-by were watching, leaving no clues, so they couldn't find anything. The Prince of Yongqing County sat back, feeling depressed to death. Originally, the man named Wen Huan had a lot of affection for him, and he was also attracted by it. Discuss with the mother-in-law and make her the concubine. Yan Zhu's background was too low, so she took her into the house as a concubine. In the end, after going to Zhuangzi, Wen Huan got involved with Jin Zi for some reason. The situation was out of control, and she died in the end. The king of Wu gave him a lesson. The queen had a seizure. What a mess. The mother-in-law asked him to work conscientiously. He had no choice but to abandon his distracting thoughts and stopped going out to play. After working hard for a while, his father had a smile on his face. As a result, the day before yesterday, I accompanied my father to a banquet. An official drank too much and told a joke. Lord Wen wanted to recognize a girl named Yanzu as his adopted daughter. He also had to prepare a banquet in a lively manner, and laughed at him. He is really a weirdo who goes through so much trouble to recognize his goddaughter. When he heard it, he thought this was Zuzu. These days, he didn't even enter the back house very often. When he was slightly drunk, thinking of that wonderful man, he suddenly felt hot all over and had headaches. Wen Ruoqing is a weirdo, not arrogant at all, but very courageous and straightforward. He often picks up his neck in front of the emperor's grandfather. The imperial grandfather was angry and resentful, but he shook off his account book and spoke. There was really nothing he could do to him. It would be difficult if Yanzu was recognized as his adopted daughter and wanted to bring her into the house as his concubine. The guy didn't agree. He was so stubborn that he would be embarrassed again. It's just a beautiful girl with no background. She was brought here without anyone noticing. It's not a bad idea to keep her here. In the future, if I really want to promote her and change her identity to enter the palace, who around me can see it? If the novelty is over and you don't want to promote it, then just leave it here. Having made a good plan, I sent someone to inquire about the news that night, and I heard that Yanzu was going to the temple to draw lots. Outside the city, this is a God-sent opportunity. So, he randomly sent a few of his bodyguards to grab people. Speaking of which, this is really the first time he has done this. Unexpectedly, I encountered a hard idea. I lost several people in vain and almost got myself into trouble. Why am I so unlucky? She is just a follower, isn't she? How can she deal with the people sent by this king? Have you checked? Master, I asked about it before. He brought 2 girls, a nurse who had retired from the agency, a driver, and a follower. He should be easy to deal with. I don't know how, it happened like this. I'm not asking. How about we go to her house again tonight? Idiot. Aren't they on guard right now? They don't know what's going on, so they send it to the door. The subordinates quickly admitted their mistake. He cursed a few more words and sighed to himself. It seems that I really have no connection with them. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 262. When the matter comes to this, we can only wait for news about Zhang Zhongqing. When you asked Labo to find Qi Wu again. Turning around, he asked Hu Fei, as Mr. said, I came to the capital for some reason. But after you woke up, why did you stay here? Hu Fei was silent. Mr. Nyo has a big business, so there is no reason to be a follower here. If the Hu family knew that we were treating you like this, the anger would not be easy to bear, right? Don't worry about Mrs. Wu. I haven't returned to the clan, so I have my own thoughts. The Hu family, it's not too late to be grateful to you and Miss Yanzu for saving me. There won't be any anger. I also accidentally heard something about you. Even if Yanzu saved you before, today, you also saved Yanzu. Tit for tat. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Sir, I'm afraid it's inconvenient for you to stay any longer. Go down. Hu Fei said nothing. Mr. Hu, you are very smart and you must be able to understand what I mean. Mrs. Wu, I want to marry Yanzu. Mr. Hu. I call you sir, I hope you respect yourself. When you was unhappy. Hu Fei looked calm and said nothing. His attitude made Wen Yu a little scared. Do you and Yanzu have a similar identity, status, age, and experience? As I know, she is kind to you. She also allows you to escape from chaos. When you wake up, you have to respect her. I just respect her and admire her, so I made this decision. Your decision is of no use to us, Wen Yu said coldly. Mrsg Wu, I will tell Yanzu personally about this matter when she is in better condition. Mr. Hu, Yanzu is simple and kind-hearted, and can't bear to see the misery of others. So, you don't need to talk to her. I have the final say in her affairs. Mrsg Wu, I'm afraid you can't do this. You. Wen Yu was so annoyed that he wanted to say something else, but Chi Wu came. Ayu, what happened? Chi Wu asked as he came in. Suddenly he saw Hu Fei and the white hair, and said suddenly, Who? Hu Fei was having trouble talking to Wen Yu. When he saw Chi Wu coming in, he nodded and said, Hu Fei. It's really you. Why are you here? Chi Wu was also surprised. It's hard to explain in one word. He is the Gu you mentioned by Yanzu. He has been in the store for so long and we didn't even notice it. Wen Yu was very annoyed. Husband, something happened. She told Chi Wu about the matter. Zhang Zhongqing and the others went to investigate, but they haven't come back yet. Just now, Mr. Hu said that the skills of those people were somewhat similar to those who assassinated him before. They might have come from Prince Wu's mansion. But I don't understand why Yan was moved. Pearl. Do you think it could be the same thing that happened last time? Of course Chi Wu knew what she was referring to. Hu Fei stared straight at Wen Wen. What's the matter? Have you ever encountered any trouble? I feel even more uneasy. No. This time, no matter what, I will marry her and protect her personally. Chi Wu thought about it. It's not certain yet, I'll check again. Is she okay? I was frightened, but I'm fine. Ayu, Zhang Zhongqing came back, and he saw Hu Fei for the first time. The white hair was so conspicuous. Hu Fei recognized Zhang Zhongqing and nodded somewhat depressedly. Zhang Zhongqing didn't ask any more questions, and said to Wen Yu, when we went there, people from the local government office had already arrived, and there were many passers-by watching. We went to the government office and checked, but the cause of death was not mentioned. But the people who brought them could tell that they were all practitioners, with calluses on their hands, strong bodies, and some were injured, but they had no belongings, and their clothes were very ordinary from the inside out. From this point of view, they were really unusual. Ji-deo. When you nodded. Zhang Zhongqing added, the people in the Yamen said that they will visit the surrounding areas in the next few days. If there is any news, they will tell me. When I come back, I will also ask the city gate guards to see if there is any news in this regard. No news. Now that things have come to this, we can only wait. Zhang Zhongqing approached Hu Fei, and Hu Fei said a few words to him briefly. But at this moment, Mr. Wen followed Li Zhang. Li Zhang, a big talker, returned to the city and ran to the inn to report the news. When Wenda heard this, he became anxious and ran over with him. Mr. Wen was already a bit flamboyant, but when he got excited, he asked a series of questions as soon as he entered the door. Wen Yu had no choice but to tell him what happened again, but halfway through, Lord Wen saw Hu Fei, narrowed his eyes, and asked coldly, "Who are you?" His speaking attitude is completely different from Wen Yu and others, and he has no respect. Thinking of Wen Ruoking's attitude towards him, Hu Fei became angry. Nangsun Hu Fei. Who? Wen Ruoking obviously knew who he was, but his attitude didn't change as he looked up and down wildly. Wen Yu quickly said, Master Wen, this time, thanks to Mr. Hu. Then he finished. Wen Ruoking was expressionless, thought for a long time, and then suddenly smiled. So that's it? I have admired Mr. Hu's name for a long time, but I have never had the opportunity to meet him. I heard that Mr. Hu encountered changes, and I often sighed. I didn't expect to have such a connection with him. Mr. We both have strange looks, but I don't know which one of us is older. Hu Fei's amber eyes looked at Mr. Wen, saying that the pressure was quite high. But when Ruoking was not afraid, then I'll shamelessly call you brother Hu, I'm sure the husband won't blame me. Wen Yu was a little surprised when he saw Wen Ruoking's sudden change, but after hearing it, he was very happy. Wen Ruoking is indeed good. I recognize this godfather. I also know a little bit about how my little girl saved you. Tisk tisk, I've seen you a few times before, but I haven't felt your current demeanor. It seems that Mr. Hu is able to advance and retreat, and is very witty. Don't talk about Zuzu. Even I can't see through that silly girl. My little daughter helped you when you were in trouble. Today, you saved my little daughter. So good. This karma is over. You return to the clan, and my little daughter recognizes me as her father. Oh, everything is wonderful. If sir, not urgent, just finish our marriage ceremony before leaving. When you almost left, she was trying to drive him away. Where did Hu Fei receive this? Yanzu has never treated him like this. That's the brat Li Jiang. He turned around and saw that guy huddled in the corner. How could Li Jiang not know Mr. Hu's identity? Maybe he was frightened because he thought of his bad attitude towards others before. He wanted to hide out, but his curiosity held him back. Hu Fei looked at him with a pale smile that was uglier than crying. Master Wen. Reason and deep intuition allowed Hu Fei to suppress his anger. Let's not rush to call each other brothers. It is not trivial for Zuzu to be frightened by this. Before the matter is found out, we must be careful in everything. Because none of us can. I don't know if it's over yet. Today I experienced it personally. If the person who comes here is a real master, I am afraid no one can guarantee the safety of Zuzu. So, no matter whether you have any prejudices or overthinking, let it go first. Hu Fei said this, making Wen Ruoking a little embarrassed, but he had already developed his shame and nodded. What I'm talking about is, Mrsg Wu, I recognize her as my adopted daughter, let's do it quickly. When you hesitated, I didn't have a chance to discuss this matter with Zuzu before, but now. Mrsg Wu, you know, Zuzu has a foster father like me, which is an extra guarantee. What happened today is so strange that it is not clear whether it is related to my affairs. If it is related, then it means we should hurry up. What do you think? He asked Wen Yu, but he also glanced at Hu Fei from the corner of his eye. Of course Hu Fei was not willing to do so. Wen Yu was already standing in the way, but he wanted to add another one, old Taishan. How difficult it is for him. Mrsg Wu, what I just said is serious. Miss Yanzu has to make the decision no matter what. In addition, if you don't have a safer place to place her, I will take people to stay here. If not, I will take her. Let her go. Don't even think about it. Wen Ruoking became anxious upon hearing this. Lord Wen, this is no joke. Miss Yan has had an accident. It will be useless to regret it. Wen Yu frowned and looked at Qi Wu and Zhang Zhongqing. Both of them nodded slightly. Go to the inn to open a suite and ask Song Shang to arrange someone to guard it, Wen Ruoking said decisively, thinking, there is nothing you can do about this, right? Without thinking, Hu Fei nodded, this is a good idea. So Wen Yu packed Yan Zhu's bag and took her to the inn. By the time the fuss was over, it was already evening. Mr. Wen was very proud and felt that he was very smart. He was just about to say goodbye to brother Hu. But he discovered that Hu Fei had also booked a suite, entered the room, and closed the door. This dogskin plaster, this bastard, this. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 263. After Qi Wu returned home, in addition to checking in secret, he also asked Mu Bo to ask Zhang Yuan sideways to see what Qi Yu was doing. Muebo didn't know how to ask side questions. He asked directly, "Who is around Mr. San? Are they still here?" Zhang Yuan didn't know what it meant, so he replied, "Those who follow me on weekdays are still here." Then, Zhang Yuan really complained to Muebo. He did not agree with what third master had done. At first, he failed to dissuade him, and he was even punished. As a guard, he couldn't betray the owner or tell others, he could only endure it. But from now on, the third master no longer needs him. He is just a decoration now. The two people dislike each other, but because the Marquis is here, his father is here. Unless he is dead or disabled, he must be in front of Qiyu. Muebo asked Qiyu what he had done. Zhang Yuan sighed and did not answer. Yanzu had a fever that night, but she was in good health and was fine the next morning. She felt quite happy living in an inn and could go to the store in 2 steps, but no one allowed her to go out. She also found out that Guyu was the legendary Mr. Hu. "I'm so excited now. Let Wenruo go to the morning court so that Hu Fei can come and see Yanzu." And accepted her laundry list of questions. In front of Yanzu, he was the same as before. But in front of others, it's different. Master Qing was afraid that Yanzu would be bored, so he asked someone to prepare some food for Yanzu to spend time here. Yanzu worked enthusiastically, while Hu Fei still started as before. "Your hair is naturally so white." Ha 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 ha, wasn't that so much fun when you were a little kid?" Yanzu thought of the little boy with snow-white hair, and laughed so hard that flour stained her nose. If anyone else dared to say this, Hu Fei would have turned against him long ago. Yanzu said that he recalled what he was like when he was a child. "When I was very young, I was very serious. I was shaking my head and endorsing books like a little old man." After speaking, he handed the handkerchief to Yanzu and pointed at her nose. Yanzu also had flour on her hand, so she couldn't pick up the handkerchief. She shook her head, then rubbed it on her arm, and some of it fell off. Hu Fei immediately took his hand and wiped it for her. Yanzu didn't feel anything strange, and then asked, "It is said that you are very good at sword dancing. I heard it and thought it was like dancing, which is very beautiful." Hu Fei was busy with trivial work in his hands and replied, "It looks good, but it's also very practical." There was an emotion in his eyes that could kill someone. "The Hu family is very rich, right?" Yanzu recalled the emotion on her face when Master Qing mentioned the Hu family to her. Actually, the reason why the Hu family is famous is not only because of their wealth, but because they have many unique secret skills. For example, shipbuilding, spinning wheels, flax paper, fireworks, etc. are all very unique things passed down by the family. Some are left behind by the ancestors, and some are created by later generations. Oh! Yanzu seemed to understand as soon as he heard it, but he actually didn't understand much. "Hey, last time Au came back from Tianlong Temple and said that she saw a stunning beauty. She must be your wife." "Ah." Yanzu sat down, yearning endlessly. "Au said that she has never seen such a beautiful woman. Man! It's so beautiful to be able to make Au praise her like that." "This is a complicated question." Hu Fei calmly savored his mood. He found that he was relieved of the experience that made him infatuated and desperate, and could talk about her calmly. "Yang Rishi. She is indeed beautiful, but even more pitiful. Her beauty did not bring her a good life, but disaster and pain. After marrying me, no one dares to disrespect her anymore. It is said that her life will be miserable. Worry. It's just, she can't get over the past, and she doesn't like the present. Like a walking zombie, always unhappy. Perhaps, death is her release. I tried my best to help her, and even almost got involved myself. Therefore, I have no guilt and no regrets." Yanzu listened carefully and nodded. "Well, actually, you have to decide whether you are happy or not. If she wants to, she can come out without you having to do anything. In fact, Au and I have not been together for many years. Happy. In those days, the two of us were very cautious all day long, just to avoid making people look at us. After discussing all day long, what should be done to make Mrs. Wen and Mr. Wen happy, later, I found out that no matter what I did, it would not work. So, we won't be stupid. Just do what you like. But this way, the old lady was actually happy again. But we don't care about this anymore. Hu Fei looked at Yanzu. Zuzu, you are very smart and very good. Really? But I'm not as smart as Au. But this is good. That's very good. I haven't said to you yet, thank you. Why do you say that? Have you forgotten? What happened when I met you? It was because of you that I woke up. Yanzu thought of his beggar appearance, and chuckled. You stunk very much at that time. Hu Fei smiled. You have seen me at my worst. So, don't dislike me. He whispered. What did you say? It's nothing. Is it really decided that you recognize your adoptive father? He was very depressed. That man was so annoying that he wanted to fall out with him several times, but he held back. Yeah, he always makes me laugh. What about me? What happened to you? Can I make you laugh, or am I the same as when Ruoking? It's different. He looks like a father. What about you? What am I like? Hu Fei asked anxiously. I can't tell clearly. Au said that you want to return to the clan and go home and do big things. But when I think about how I will call Gu you in the future and you don't show up, it's really awkward. No, I won't leave. Yanzu, do you really want me to be by your side whenever you call me? Yeah, that's good. And you? Zuzu, when you is here. Hu Fei had been thinking for a long time before he was about to say it, but was interrupted by when you. It makes him angry. When Ruoking's recognition ceremony went on without any hindrance. The news spread and everyone talked about it. As a relative and friend of Yanzu, when you did the math, Wen family, Song family, Chen family, Zhang family, Kui family, Qi, we have to set up several tables. Mr. Su ran to Mr. Ten and had been talking for a long time. Full of derogatory words. Mrs. Ten is also very depressed. She just said bad things about Yanzu a few days ago. Why is Wen Ruoking coming to slap me in the face? Adopted father and adopted daughter, that sounds really nice. Feeling unhappy, of course she wanted to instigate. With a few words, Mrs. Su's face turned pale with anger. How could Wen Yu care what they said? But if she wants to come to invite Master Tan, she must find a chance to meet Master Qing to see if she can discover anything. Grandma, in the past few days, all the customers who come to the store have mentioned this matter. You should go there too, join in the fun. Mrs. Tan smiled and shook her head. Grandma and the old lady of the Wen family are very close. But their family affairs are as salty as salt and sour as vinegar. I still haven't figured it out. It's such a big fight to recognize a adopted daughter. If Mrs. Wen writes to you, I will definitely go. But now, if I go, I won't be able to see Mrs. Wen again. When you looked at Mrs. Tan with a smile, now that Mrs. Su and I are here, why is she going around in such a big circle? Isn't this accusing Wen Ruoking of being unfilial and acting arrogantly? Since the wish could not be achieved, when you stopped lingering and said, oh, that's it, that's a pity. After a few perfunctory words, he went out. Unexpectedly, Mrs. Su followed behind. When you, I heard that Mrs. Wen doesn't like her son Wen Ruoking very much. Baba is rushing to recognize her adoptive father, so I'm afraid she won't get any glory, right? When you turned around and smiled, sister-in-law, don't you know that the Wen family relies on Mr. Wen to support them to achieve the status of a first-class family in the capital? Which wealthy family does not rely on its promising descendants? Well, it's just like my sister-in-law's natal family, or some kind of earl's mansion. Even your father's generation is not good, and your brother's generation is not good either. They have all fallen into the middle and lower classes. Sue was pointed at the nose by Wen Yu and scolded her father, so she opened her mouth and replied, "Fart. You bitch." Wen Yu was not annoyed at all, so, what does Mrs. Wen want? She's just a useless old lady, who cares about her? Okay, how dare you say such treasonous words? I'm going to tell my grandfather, but she was caught. But Wen Yu suddenly came closer and said, "Sister-in-law, when will your body get better? I see that in this house, the third aunt has her hands on everything inside and outside. In the past few days, I have been coming in and out. People, no one has mentioned you. I am very happy, but what should you do? But, you are really worthy of giving birth to the eldest son of this generation." After saying that, she winked, smiled, and walked away gracefully. Mrs. Sue stood there stunned, so angry that she could not speak. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 264. Chapter 264, Hitchhiking. The matter of recognizing relatives, Lord Chi knew about it from the beginning. As soon as Chi Wu arrived home in the evening, he sent someone, "Master Marquis, please ask the fifth master and the fifth wife to come over and speak." Chi Wu and Wen Yu looked at each other. Why did they use the word please? Wen Yu was annoyed, but he still had to comb his hair and change his clothes. I simply packed up and went to the front. Today, the Marquis actually still has a smile on his face. "You are here? Sit down quickly. To show your courtesy when you have nothing to do is." The Marquis asked Wen Yu, "Who is your sister named Yanzu?" Wen Yu was puzzled. Why would the Marquis be interested in this matter? Actually, Mr. Ho is not interested in Yanzu, he is interested in Wen Ruoking. You know, the review and allocation of military pay is in his hands. Every year during the military festival, there are countless ghosts, big and small, who want to eat and take cards. It's impossible to get rid of the skin without any effort. Especially people like Chi Jiajin, who are half supported by the court and half raised by themselves. If you want your horse to have sharp weapons, it will be a waste of money. Master Wen, that is, the judge, can do whatever he wants to a large extent. Chi Jiajin's life is better than sad. Sometimes, his hand shakes. When you didn't quite understand it, but Chi Wu knew it. "Grandpa, my grandson's daughter-in-law explained to you last time that she is her companion. Mr. Wen often goes to the restaurant to eat, and one time he fell ill there. Yanzu asked the doctor to prepare medicine. Mr. Wen may I feel like I have a close affinity with her, so I decided to become my adopted daughter." "Oh, yes. This is also her blessing. Are you going to set up a banquet in your shop?" "Yes. Have you posted a message to the Chi family?" Mr. Wen said that he will make the arrangements for his guests. For Yanzhu's side, the granddaughter-in-law will make the reservations. The granddaughter-in-law has already asked her grandmother, and she said that the Wen family affairs are too complicated, and she has a good relationship with Mrs. Wen. It is inconvenient for her to participate. Moreover, my grandmother thought, it's just a matter of recognizing an adopted daughter, Master Wen's battle is too big. Mrs. Wen wouldn't go without inviting her grandmother. In order to avoid feeling sorry for Mrs. Wen when we meet in the future, it will be very embarrassing. When you smiled secretly, that's what she meant, I didn't arrange it. The Marquis frowned and said, "It's fine if she doesn't go. Get 2 posts for my grandfather," but he didn't say why he wanted to participate. Wen Yu could only agree and the young couple went out. Chi Wu told Wen Yu the possible reason. Wen Yu curled her lips. It's true that when you use people, you look forward, when you don't need people, you look behind. This grandfather of yours. Okay, okay. If I don't do this, it will be fine, Chi-woo quickly stopped him. As when you walked, he said to Chi-woo, that Hu-fei still refuses to go home. He also asked his cousin to get a big room on the first floor and work there, and there are a lot of people looking for it all day long. What's the deal with being cornered by them before we even opened our doors? The two of them walked around the garden and wanted to go up the steps. Chi-woo helped her, her arms were so soft. This guy is still the same as before, helping Zuzu with trivial things all day long. Now he's targeting Zuzu. What should I do? She smells so good. Finally I understood why she always smoked her clothes, it smelled good. Chi-woo was distracted. He is so old, with white hair, he is just like an old man. He also married a wife before. Moreover, he married Yang Rishi, I have seen it with my own eyes. Tisk, tisk, he doesn't look like a real person at all. Which one of us do you think is better looking? Me and Yang, are you? Chi-woo looked at her, you look good. When you didn't believe it and glared at him, liar. Didn't he go crazy just because of Yang Rishi's death? What's the matter, use me Zuzu as a house filler. As Yang Rishi's replacement. What a beautiful idea. Don't you think so? Chi-woo stopped talking again, and the two of them entered the courtyard and returned to the house. When the girls saw the two people whispering, they all hid. Besides, there are so many dangers around him. This revenge against King Wu and Princess Wu must be avenged. How big is the risk? Is it easy for Zuzu to grow up? We can't take any more risks, right? Chi-woo still only listens to the heirs. But, if Zuzu's matter has something to do with Prince Wu's mansion, that means we also have a grudge against Prince Wu's mansion. Oh yes, our interests are in conflict with Prince Wu's mansion. Her husband is assisting the prince. Chi-woo sat her down and took off the hairpins on her head, 1 or 2. He accidentally pulled off her hair. When you got angry, I've been talking for a long time, why didn't you say anything? I'm going to say it, but maybe you don't like to hear it. Chi-woo looked at his results, and he only talked a little bit today. I'm getting better and better at it, God knows how hard it is. What are you going to say? Why don't I like to hear it, when you said seriously? Ew, don't worry. Although Mr. Hu is older and has a wife before him. However, he is extremely talented and is not an ordinary person. That sword in his hand is amazingly beautiful. Who can compare with it? Your husband also can't compare. Moreover, he will never be able to finish all the things in his mind in his lifetime. Such a person will be very stable. It will not change as circumstances change. When you sneered, who are you kidding? What became of him later? You didn't see it, but you smelled it, right? The stench was so bad. Disgusting. If it weren't for Zuzu's kindness, he would have starved to death. These words stunned Chi-woo for a while, and then he said again, aren't you awake now? It's different when you recover. And the older ones know how to hurt others. He is the head of the Hu family. The Hu family. The emperor must be polite. He is powerful enough, and no one dares to bully Yanzu if he marries her. TCH, wasn't that how he treated Yang Ru at the beginning? He only had eyes for her, and others didn't even look at her, and they even dragged her along when they walked. Then shouldn't I hold you too? Chi-woo said. Don't talk nonsense, it can be the same. When you blushed, it felt quite beautiful. The wife of the Hu family has a high status and can be received by the queen. What's so rare about that? Queen Mother, last time we went there, we waited all day in vain and didn't see her when you was fooling around with Chi-woo. The Hu family has great wealth and will live in fine clothing and food all their lives. We have no shortage, and we ourselves can eat and do whatever we want, wear whatever we want. Chi-woo shook his head helplessly. That's why I said it, but you didn't listen. When you sighed, actually, the so-called life of fine clothes and fine food is only wanted by those who don't have it. Once you really have it, you will find that only loving each other is the true meaning of marriage. It doesn't matter what you eat, the key is to be with each other. Who eats it? It doesn't matter what you wear, the key is who appreciates it, as long as you feel. Hey. Chi-woo hugged her at once. That day, I accidentally saw, there is a white silk skirt in the cabinet. Are you going to wear it for me to admire? When you blushed and spat at him, no. You have a beautiful idea. Definitely, who can appreciate it if you don't appreciate it from me? Come on, put it on and let me see it. I don't, Wen said without saying anything. Chi-woo dragged Wenyu to the cabinet, hugged and clamped him, and took out the little clothes with familiarity. Quickly change. Zhu Zhu's marriage event brought Chi-woo along. End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 265. Master Qing recognized Yan Zhu as his bride and gave her a set of beautiful clothes. Everyone is very satisfied. On this day, Xiaoxiang was sent over by Wenyu to comb Yan Zhu's hair. Xiaoxiang is an all-round girl who can do everything. Moreover, she behaves like a big girl and acts steadily. At this moment, she was combing her hair and praising Yan Zhu, making her feel so beautiful. Yin Huan came in and said, "Girl, there is MRSUN outside, who claims to be your sister, and wants to come in and meet you." Yan Zhu knew it as soon as he heard it. This is probably the Wen Xiangui, the one who secretly learned and imitated. Tell her to sit downstairs for a while I finish cleaning up. Before he finished speaking, someone at the door smiled and said, "Miss Yan Zhu, from now on, we are sisters. I have a few words of gratitude for my sister. I want to talk to her in a moment." Thinking of today's day, Yan Zhu nodded, "Please come in." Wen Xiangui opened the door himself and came in. She also dressed up deliberately today, with elegant clothes and expensive jewelry given by her grandmother, giving her the image of a noble lady. Yu Qi was smiling happily. When he came in, he looked at Yan Zhu carefully. "My God, Miss Yan Zhu, you are so beautiful, I feel embarrassed to be your sister." She looked lively and cheerful. Yan Zhu's hair has been combed and she is getting a hairpin. "I'm wearing my daily skirt, but I haven't worn today's dress yet." The skirt is close to the body and the material is very soft, which highlights her curvy figure. The face, which has not been powdered or rouged, has delicate, rosy and shiny skin. Especially that black hair, the sideburns look so beautifully cut. As the saying goes, natural beauty. Wen Xiangui knew that he came with a mission and had to act, but at this moment he couldn't help but feel the sourness in his heart. Yan Zhu looked at her curiously. "Don't be polite. Come to me. What do you want to say?" Wen Xiangui was so polite that he pulled up a chair and sat in front of Yan Zhu. "Actually, I didn't expect that my father would be so interested in recognizing his daughter. So, I wanted to see with my own eyes how different my sister is. She was a little absent-minded, and she should be a little sad." Yan Zhu was originally a soft-hearted person, but Wen Xiangui greatly offended her. She secretly learned what she had learned, but she still couldn't learn it. Selling at a low price affects your own business. Therefore, although he had some sympathy, he was too lazy to comfort him and just explained a few words. "Master Wen is a very good person. He has a headache and the attack is very severe. If he has the idea of recognizing me as his adopted daughter, then listen to him. Yes. It's just that I don't know much about the Wen family, so I don't know how to get along with you now." Wen Xiangui sighed softly. "Yes, my father has a head disease. In fact, my mother and I are particularly concerned about him, not to mention my grandmother. She only has one son, so it is understandable. But my father, alas. Since your father recognizes you as his adopted daughter in such a big way, he must think highly of you. I hope that my sister can build a bridge between her father and her grandmother in the future. Also say something nice to my mother. At this age, and not in good health, the most important thing is that the family lives in harmony and lives smoothly. She spoke sincerely for a long time, but Yanzu shook his head. I'm afraid I can't agree to this. Wen Xiangui was just acting. She made good promises and looked for opportunities, but she didn't expect to be rejected by Yanzu. There is nothing wrong with what I said. She actually refused. A little stunned. Yanzu said seriously, Mr. Wen must have his reasons for doing things. I can't just arrange things indiscriminately. I can only guarantee that I am just a righteous daughter, and nothing in the Wen family will happen because of me changed. No wonder he wants to recognize her as his daughter. She is also a stubborn person. I'm talking about the situation, you don't understand? What the is this? Wen Xiangui cursed in his heart, but quickly smiled. Sister, I don't mean that. I mean, if he wants to take you back to the Wen family, the family will welcome you. The Wen family has a small population, and everyone its baby. Yanzu smiled, looked at herself in the mirror, touched her face, and stopped talking. Wen Xiangui knew that she wanted to leave, so she stood up and walked around behind Yanzu. Sister, your black hair is thick, thick and shiny. It's so nice. The hairpin is a little crooked. Already. While they were talking, Xiaoxiang was packing things nearby. Seeing that she was about to take action, he hurried over. Mrsun. But Wen Xiangui was quick and had already helped Yanzu adjust her hairpin. Yanzu dodged slightly, but before she could move out of the way, Wen Xiangui had already stopped. Yanzu then said, it doesn't matter, we will do it again later. Mrsun, please come as a slave. Xiaoxiang glanced at her warily, what's wrong with this person? It's done. Wen Xiangui looked enthusiastic. Without moving, he looked at Yanzu and himself in the mirror, joking, hey, maybe if my sister grows up like you, my father will give me a smile. Yanzu said kindly, you don't have to be like this. You have a mother and a grandmother, and they love you very much. Wen Xiangui nodded quickly, to put it this way, I am indeed lucky, my grandmother will definitely like you when she sees you. She said, gently touching Yanzhu's shoulder. The collar of Yanzhu's clothes is not high, and the rope holding the jade plaque is exposed. She pulled with her hand, and the piece of jade was pulled out. I was used to wearing the jade pendant and Yanzu, so I didn't care. Xiaoxiang squeezed over at once, girl. It's getting late, I'll help you clean it up. After that, he put the jade token into his clothes. With just one glance, Wen Xiangui understood it clearly. Sure enough, it was exactly the same as his own jade pendant. She didn't care when Xiaoxiang squeezed her. She suppressed her excitement and sat back down. Before, I ate snacks made by my sister at Kui's house. Later, I also came to the store to buy some. I heard that most of them were prepared by my sister. Where did you find the recipe? After the important things were successfully completed, she started to worry about old problems. If it had been before, Yanzu would have said honestly, most of them were messed up by themselves. But she was very shameless about Wen Xianggui's behavior of stealing art, counterfeiting, and lowering prices. So he fooled her. Yes, it is made according to the recipe. I bought it when I was in the south. Sister, I'm so lucky I bought a lot of prescriptions, but... Do you also open a shop? Yanzu asked deliberately. Huh? Oh. That's not the case, I like to do it and give it a try to my grandmother and mother. Oops, it's getting late and you haven't dressed up yet, so I'm going out first. See you later. After saying that, she left, went out and got in the car. Go home quickly. When you was getting off the bus at the door. Today, she was also dressed radiantly. Today's Wei Ziyu Wei is very lively. When Ruoking was neatly dressed and came early to greet the guests at the door. Many people were curious about this matter, so they all arrived very early. There was still some time before the recognition ceremony and banquet, but the whole store was already filled with laughter. Some people also made fun of him. "Brother Wenqing, you look so handsome today. I didn't realize before, that you are so handsome." "I've always been handsome, but, you just think I'm disgusting," Wen Ruoqing laughed. He knew as if he had a mirror in his heart. Given the money, his heels are prettier than a beautiful woman's face. Without any money, you will grow up to be an immortal and look disgusting. Everyone laughed. When you went to the store after reading Yanzu, the business of Yun Xiang was also very good today, and everyone was already very busy. MRSG and Zhang Mocking also arrived. They were looking for someone to talk to and couldn't stop looking around. "Speak warmly." When you turned around and saw that it was Princess Huijuan. Princess. I'm not here to sit on the table. As luck would have it, I'm here to try on some clothes. Princess Huijuan smiled brightly. Princess, I'm so sorry that I didn't give you a post. Master Wen recognizes his adopted daughter. How could I pick on you? Would you please sit upstairs for a while? Okay, then sit down for a while. Going upstairs, he opened the private room where Wen Yuqian was sitting, and the two of them sat down. Princess Huijuan came up and asked with a smile, "Have you heard about me?" Wen Yu also smiled, "I heard about what happened before. I haven't been able to go home recently. I wonder what's going on now." "Your second uncle proposed to me, and I accepted," Hui Duan replied leisurely. "That's it." Wen Yu was a little distracted. "What's your expression?" "Wen Yu, do you agree?" "Princess, you have an open-minded personality and a very tasteful life. You are a person whom Wen Yu admires and envy. But the matter between you and my second uncle, I can only say that my second uncle is not worthy of you." Princess Huijuan was a little surprised. "I didn't expect you to say that." "Princess, you have a broad vision, which I cannot match. You must have your own reasons for doing this. I just hope that, my second uncle will not hurt your heart and face. You have always been able to live such a free and honest life. I hope so too. Moreover, Wen Yu also hopes that we will be friends forever." "It's a deal," the princess agreed happily. After seeing off the princess, Wen Yu went downstairs and walked around, and found that Chi Ho had just entered and was greeting the people at the door. She walked over and said, "Grandpa." Kyo was smiling well today. When he saw her, he nodded, "Well, my fifth daughter-in-law. It's so lively today." Behind Chi Ho, Chi Yu flashed out. His clothes were expensive and low-key, and he had a decent smile on his face, but his eyes when he looked at Wen Yu were like hooks, fifth younger brother and sister. With a lazy tone, Wen Yu glanced at him and turned to ask Chi Ho, "Grandpa, father is not here." Kyo obviously came to meet Wen Ruoqing to establish a relationship, but he didn't bring his eldest son. When asked, he didn't change his expression. "Your father has something else to do today, yo." "Mr. Wang," the old man left directly. Chi Yu followed 2 steps and stood in front of Wen Yu, just about to say something. How could Wen Yu give him a chance to disgust himself? He turned around and left. Chi Yu touched his nose. "Hey, he likes this." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 266. Wen Ruo chatted and laughed easily, and easily accepted Chi Ho's approach. It was a heated fight after going back and forth. When he was excited, he even praised Chi Yu fiercely, saying, "Although he is slightly inferior to Wu Lang, his style is still quite charming. Of those present today, you must be number one." The Marquis laughed heartily. Chi was also smiling, but in his heart he was filled with hatred. While they were chatting and laughing, Hyuza came in and said, "Mr. Wen is here." Wen Ruoking went out to pick her up, but found that old Mrs. Wen was following behind her. His face was not disguised at all and looked ugly. On the other hand, old Mrs. Wen was well groomed, calm and relaxed, smiling slightly with her lips pursed, and the expression on her face was a bit unpredictable. Old Mrs. Wen laughed, "Ruoking, why are there so many guests? Your mother also wants to come and see the excitement." "Oh Lord Fang." The old woman pestered him so much that he had no choice but to bring her. Feeling the pressure between the two, they quickly ran away. Old Mrs. Wen smiled and looked at Wen Ruoking. "Why, are you surprised that mother is here?" "Surprised, unexpected. This is my adopted daughter and has nothing to do with the Wen family, so I didn't plan to invite you here. I was also worried for a while, if the girl doesn't kowtow to you, you will be embarrassed." You, old Mrs. Wen simply hated him. "In front of so many people, please stop your unfilial behavior. Then you should try your best to be kind, otherwise, if you raise your glass, people will think there is poison in your glass." Old Mrs. Wen blushed and smiled ferociously. "There is no evidence, Master Wen, be careful what you say. If you want to go to Dali Temple to accuse me of disobedience and false accusation, I can arrange for someone to send you there now when Ruoking cannot retreat, otherwise, he will only make himself sick in vain. The person in front of me always makes an extravagant effort." "Humph, let's see," the old lady went in bitterly. Wen Ruoking also snorted coldly. On a good day, she can really spoil the fun. Person C's expression was caught by the wandering Wen Yu. After a while, Yanzu came over accompanied by Mu Ling and Zhang Jingqing. "Go to Yun Xiang's side first and wait for the ceremony to begin." Hu Fei followed. Although he was reluctant, his clothes returned to their previous luxury. Many people saw him and didn't know what he was doing. Along the way, many people also saw Yanzu, and it was their first time, so they couldn't help but gasp. "I thought Wen Ruoking was really intolerant, but it turns out he also likes beautiful girls. Even the adopted daughter must be so good looking." Someone said to the person next to him, "No wonder he doesn't answer the stepdaughter of the Liwen family. She's not good looking." Old Mrs. Wen has been eyeing this adopted daughter. Seeing her beautiful appearance and innocent smile, I had mixed thoughts in my heart. After Yanzu agreed, he came with an arrogant air, "Are you Yanzu?" Yanzu didn't expect Mrs. Wen to come. Seeing that the lady's expression and tone were strange, she turned to look at Wen Yu. Wen Yu came over, took Yanzu's arm, and said with a smile, "What would you call me, madam?" "This is so true, we are almost a family, you don't even recognize me as your grandmother." Old Mrs. Wen looked sarcastic. "Oh, it turns out it's Mrs. Wen," who's a bit disappointed. Wen's tone was perfunctory, and there was no expression of respect on her face. Yanzu opened his eyes wide and looked at Mrs. Wen. That look in her eyes made old Mrs. Wen feel uncomfortable. She rolled her eyes at Wen Yu and said, "Who are you? Why do you have to speak up?" Didn't she want to recognize her adoptive father and enter the Wen family? Could it be that despite her beauty, she is a dumb? Seeing Mrs. Wen's attitude, Yanzu became angry. Old Mrs. Wen really loves to joke. If Yanzu doesn't speak, he doesn't know what to say to you. After all, I have known Mr. Wen for so long, and he has never mentioned it once. If you hadn't taken the initiative to introduce yourself, we wouldn't have recognized you. When you looked at Yanzu strangely, Zuzu. I just found out today that you are not only clever and beautiful, but also very talented. Talk. Really? Is what I just said good? Yanzu asked sincerely. But Mrs. Wen was really hurt. The house was full of women, and it was difficult for Hu Fei to follow them in, so he kept guarding outside the door. Suddenly, his subordinate came over and said respectfully, Sir. Mr. Shi is here and would like to invite you to come over and talk. Hu Fei looked back and looked inside. He really didn't want to see Yanzu kneel down to Wen Ruoking. So, he nodded, let's go. Old MRS Wen was in good spirits and said contemptuously, MRS Ji Wu, what, can't the Qi family be Yanzhu's backer? Do you have to join the Wen family? You know, as long as I am here, she has nothing to do with anything in the Wen family, the one above. Haha, old madam. To tell you the truth, we are just convinced that Master Wen is a good person. We Zuzu really don't like those in the Wen family. Her brain is a treasure. Our dim sum shop must be, you must know it, the snacks in it are all from her little brain, others can't learn it even if they want to steal it. Yanzu also got excited and said, old lady, do you know there is a Gaixiang village in the West City? The owner of that shop doesn't want to learn well, so he comes to steal his art from us. He still can't learn it, so he has to sell it at a low price. Yes, if you want to eat snacks, don't go there to buy them. Li Kuei and Li Gui, you have to distinguish them clearly, when you answered. Old MRS Wen was so angry. These two girls, who look like humans and dogs, sing in harmony with each other, secretly scolding Xiangui, she is really not a good bird. I don't know what you are talking about. Miss Yanzu, I have a few words to say to you alone, about the godfather you want to recognize. This is very important. Let's find a quiet place. When you said, old lady, we sisters, just like Mr. Wen, have always been upright and above board, and we have nothing to say to others. If you have anything to say, just talk to our sisters here. MRS Kaiwu, why do you always get involved in other people's affairs? The old lady of the Qi family knows me very well. Her grandson-in-law is acting like this outside, and I want to ask her if she knows. My grandmother knows it. Originally, she was invited to come. But she also mentioned that she would be friends with you. So I sympathize with you and pity you. I can't bear to come here and say she is embarrassed. Old MRS Wen knew that someone was talking about the writer behind his back. Although she didn't care, it was just a helpless choice. Who wouldn't care? Hearing MRS Tan's expression like a cat crying like a mouse, I was secretly angry. Just you? Do you still sympathize with me and pity me? What are you doing? Even Chewo girl, whose last name might be real or fake, is worthy of sympathizing with me? Her face turned pale with anger. She suppressed her anger and looked at Yanzu. Yanzu, do you mean this too? You don't want to find out Wen Ruoking's true identity, so you rashly recognize him as your father. Yanzu asked curiously, what's his true identity? He is your son. Isn't it? Old MRS Wen was pretending to be mysterious, but was brought back to her original state by Yanzhu's unintentional but serious question. He is not his own son, no. But she didn't dare to say it. Cannot say. Speaking out, he might be finished, but she knew that she would be even worse off. It will also involve her daughter and grandson, her only relatives. However, this does not mean that there is nowhere to vent your anger and hatred. For example, today, I wanted to design a scene to meet Yanzu alone, so as to create a perfect opportunity to humiliate that and ruin the pastry shop. Achieve two birds with one stone. But it won't work. If it doesn't happen, it won't work. Anyway, the evidence will speak for itself. Actually, many people didn't like Zuzu at the beginning. Thought she was stupid and her words and actions were incomprehensible. The reason why everyone likes her now may also be due to her plump image. But fullness does not mean perfection. She still gets silly. I arranged for Mr. Hu to be the official match, because she felt that she had suffered so much in the previous life, so she should have someone who would be kind to her in all aspects without any blind spots, without her having to worry about getting along, to rely on. Thank you all for your discussion, whether you agree or disagree, I like it all. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 267. When the time came, Wen Ruoqing sat in the seat without giving up, preparing to accept Yan Zhu's kneeling. The atmosphere was not solemn at all, everyone was basically watching the fun. When you didn't see Hu Fei in the crowd. Well, that's good. With this adoptive father standing in the way, most of the matter must have been solved. Looking at the way these people are fawning over Lord Wen, Zuzu's marriage will definitely be answered by hundreds of people. Finally, I can carefully choose a good boy. The incomparably beautiful Yan Zhu was helped over, and everyone looked a little dumbfounded along the way. There was buzzing discussion. Especially Qiyu, her mood was complicated. I didn't ask about it and just forgot about it. Gee, this little girl is really a beauty. Turning his head to look at Wen Yu, who was smiling like a flower, he wondered, how did these two get together? Then, he glanced at Qi Wu. Qi Zheng looked serious. You don't know how to enjoy the blessings of everyone? This beauty has accepted Wen Ruoqing as her adoptive father, so it's obviously hard to get her. What a fool he is. Yan Zhu was already kneeling on the ground. My daughter pays homage to her father. Wen Ruoqing sighed, the beauty of peach is as bright as its flower. Yan Zhu, you are a beautiful woman. Today, instead of saying that I accept your adopted daughter and provide you with a shelter, it would be better to say that it is you who let me. I hope you have the opportunity to enjoy a happy family with a daughter. I hope you are safe and well. Yan Zhu should be. Hu Zi next to him was holding a tray with some certificates on it. Wen Ruo pointed at it lightly. These properties are extra rewards from the emperor for my father's meritorious service to the court over the years. I will give them to you when you get married in the future. If you have property, you will have confidence. Wen Yu was simply surprised and happy. He pulled Qi Wu and smiled with his eyes bent. Master Wen, are you serious? Qi Yu saw it and snorted in his heart, how frivolous. I felt jealous and resentful. There was an uproar around him, and some people present recognized his adopted son and adopted daughter. Basically, the boys would give some pen and ink and help look at the future. For girls, jewelry and fabrics are given as gifts. Having a son with a good name can take the marriage to a higher level. This is for inheritance, look at the thickness. Tisk tisk, this is your biological daughter. Old Mrs. Wen is fuming. If he didn't pay the emperor's extra reward to his family, no one would be able to say anything. There are also people who are asking for it, but this is out of the question. The old man stopped me. Yan Zhu did not refuse and kowtowed in thanks. The golden ring next to her helped her get up. Wen Ruoqing took it from Huse's hand and handed it to Yan Zhu. Yan Zhu took it with both hands and said, "Thank you, Dad." Wen Ruoqing was really beautiful when she called her that. At this point, the ceremony is over. Next, it's time to start the banquet. Suddenly, a woman ran up to the old lady in a panic and said, "Madam, I have found out. I just heard people talking about it and said it was, baby let. That loud voice, what's going on?" Everyone suddenly became quiet. Wen Ruoqing raised his eyebrows slightly. Why did he start now? I thought she would stop it, but it was only after Li Cheng that she started to make trouble, but she couldn't hold her breath anymore. Old Mrs. Wen pretended, "You mean there is news? Then tell me quickly, why are you hesitant?" "Old slave, don't you dare." The servant woman dodged. "You have me making the decision for you, why don't you dare? Say it quickly." Old Mrs. Wen started to get excited. Old man Wen looked at Wen Ruoqing and then at the old woman, and suddenly felt that something bad was going to happen. He was furious. What kind of occasion is this? How do you manage the servants? Come on, drag this crazy woman down. He is indeed angry. Originally, this beautiful little girl had to kowtow to herself. As a result, the old woman had to follow him. It's better now. In order to prevent her adopted daughter from bowing to the old woman, Ruo Qing spared herself this fate. He even brought gifts so eagerly that he didn't even get a chance to deliver them. In front of so many people, what kind of trouble is the old woman going to make? Tomorrow, the whole capital will be watching Wen's jokes. The old servants he has with him are all outside. I screamed loudly, but no one answered. Huzi, what are you doing standing there in such a daze? Drag this old guy down and take care of him back at home, he began to instruct the people around Wen Ruoking. Wait a minute, old Mrs. Wen quit, she was fed up with being cowardly. I just lost an heirloom from the Wen family in this store. There were so many distinguished guests here today, so I was too embarrassed to announce it. Now that we have the news, why not let her tell her? If you want to say something, just take her home and talk to her. Let's go. Old Mrs. Wen did her job. Father, the old lady lost her family heirloom, and she lost it in the store. Of course, she needs to find out then. Mother-in-law, just say what you want to say. Wen Ruoking raised his legs and flicked his clothes, feeling calm and relaxed. Looks like he's not afraid of trouble. Old Mrs. Wen trembled and begged the old lady, whispering, Old lady, I'm begging you, please stop making trouble. Don't you have to make it unstoppable? What else can't I do? What else can I do? Old Mrs. Wen turned to look at Wen Ruoking. He looked so irritating. She really hates it. Everything I am today is due to him. If he wasn't a boy, how could his mother have thought of such an idea? If he died honestly, he would not be so upset that he would not be able to take care of brother Quan and let him die young. Moreover, maybe the smallpox was caused by this piece of shit. As a result, Quan Gear is gone. The daughter was abused by this bitch's own mother, and was betrothed to such a family. How much hardship we suffered. He has left home. Why didn't he die outside? Why did he come back? I was so persuasive that I used the Wen family's gifts to let him pretend to have a grandson with his daughter, but in the end, he refused at all costs. At any rate, I was the one who raised him. They say it is better to cultivate kindness than to show kindness, but how did he treat me? Then don't blame me for being cruel. She said a little crazy, who stole it? The old woman had the backing of the madam, but she just pretended to be afraid, listened to the old lady's instructions, and said loudly, Madam, I was in the corner just now, and I heard someone talking, saying that, this girl Yanzu stole your jade pendant. Madam, wear it on your neck. What? Everyone was shocked. This old lady is going crazy. The old lady never thought that she had this idea. Miss Yanzu, what do you say? Mrs. Wen asked with a smile. When you pulled Yanzu, who had a puzzled look on her face and didn't quite understand, to stop her from speaking. He looked at old Mrs. Wen with a smile. Old Mrs. Wen looked at Wen Ruoking and then at Wen Yu. They both looked like they were watching a monkey show. He was even more furious. Those are the heirlooms of my Wen family. There are 2 pieces in total, and I took them with me. I thought, if this is a rule, I would give her a piece as a gift. But unexpectedly, I told her after the conversation, there was a piece missing in the blink of an eye. There were many distinguished guests here today, so I asked the servant to inquire secretly, but I didn't expect that she was the one who stole it. Wen Ruo narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the old man. Father, you have also seen that she is crazy. It's time for you to make a choice. Mr. Wen broke into a sweat in despair and said that he shouldn't have brought her here today. A voice came slowly, that servant girl, tell me again, who stole it? No one knows who is speaking. Wen Ruoking heard it and frowned slightly, what's the matter with you? The servant girl said it again. The figure flashed. I don't know what happened, but the servant woman fell to the ground without saying a word. Everyone opened their mouths, but no one made a sound. I saw two men in black who looked exactly the same, appearing on the scene. No nonsense, one person grabbed the mother-in-law's arm and carried her out lightly. Hu Fei appeared next to Yanzu. When Yanzu saw him, he felt a little aggrieved when he thought that he was called a thief in public. It's okay, Hu Fei comforted. Wen Yu was not happy either and glared at him. What else can happen with me here? Old Mrs. Wen was shocked. What's wrong? Where are you taking her? Are you going to kill her and silence her in public? She yelled for a long time, but no one paid attention to her. He shouted to the old man, they dare to kill people in front of everyone. Go and call the official. What is your name? Mr. Wen saw the white-haired man who had just come in. Although he couldn't figure out who he was, his momentum and the two people just now, if you dare to make a move here, you are not easy to mess with. Follow me home quickly, pull it as soon as you start. The old lady is usually very powerful, and he is quite henpecked, but when he is really in a hurry, he is much stronger than the old lady. Old Mrs. Wen refused to leave, but he dragged her a few steps. Wen Ruoking and Wen Yu said at the same time, wait. Father, the matter has not been clarified yet, what's the point of leaving like this? Wen Yu also said, yes, Mr. Wen, a dirty person with red lips and white teeth is guilty of stealing. I don't understand, but your wife can't leave. Didn't the old lady say that she was called an official? Master Zhang of Dali Temple seems to be downstairs, please come and ask Mr. Zhang to come up. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 268. Chapter 268, Happiness and Sorrow. Zhang Zhongqing will definitely come on such a day. His official position is not high and he does not have a good position. But this was just what he wanted. He and his two brothers were in the corner of the first floor, gearing up to have a feast, when, as a result, work came. Feeling unhappy, I stood there with a sullen face and quite a bit of momentum. What happened? He asked. Old Mrs. Wen screamed, someone kidnapped my servant girl in public. Arrest the thieves and murderers quickly. Who is the thief? Who is the murderer? She is a thief. The old lady pointed at Yanzu. But the murderer, she didn't even understand, and the person was gone, so she pointed at Wen Yu and said, the person was killed in the store, go and ask her. Wen Yu said, Sir Zhang, Mrs. Wen lost her family heirloom in the store. Sir, please start here to check. Zhang Zhongqing was followed by his brothers. As soon as he signaled, one took out his desk paper, while the other moved the tables and chairs and went to ask for pens and ink. Wen Ruoking walked up to Yanzu and said, Zuzu, I'm sorry. This matter is all about me. He smiled bitterly, accepting me as your adoptive father, you didn't get any benefits, but got into trouble. With Wen Yu and Gu Yu by her side, Yanzu was not afraid and shook her head gently. Hu Fei chuckled lightly and looked at Yanzu with an expression, what did I say? Wen Ruoking was filled with anger and gave him a fierce look, then turned around to settle the score with him. Zhang Zhongqing sat down, picked up a pen, and prepared to write down, who is the victim? What happened? This time, Mrs. Wen hesitated a little. She just wanted to make a fuss, spoil the marriage recognition, throw dirty water out, and make them sick to death. But there is no manager. There are so many things to do in the capital, how can there be an official? This person who asks and answers questions in public is not going to lose his life. Zhang Zhongqing saw that she was silent, so he asked again, name the victim. If you don't catch someone dirty, why are you asking me for it? My servant. Madam, whenever there is theft or murder, the magistrates will not help themselves. Your name, identity, where you live, and what you did will be reported to you one by one. Zhang Zhongqing is full of momentum. When you looked at it, quite happy. When Mr. Wen saw the old lady lingering and not speaking, He pulled her away and said, "Mr. Zhang, this old woman drank too much, so she was confused and talked nonsense. Nothing happened. I'm sorry, everyone, Ruo Qing, you guys go on." After that, he still dragged the old lady away. Wait a minute, Wen Yu and Wen Ruoqing spoke at the same time. Looking at each other again, Wen Ruoqing said, "Yan Zhu is innocent, she was just dragged down by me. Things must be clarified." "Yes," Wen Yu said coldly, "the words have been spoken, and there must be a result. Otherwise, how can Zuzu survive with such an infamy? The old lady has something in her heart, she is afraid of the officials. She is dawdling. I'm willing to say, but the food and wine are already prepared in the kitchen, so don't waste everyone's time. Why don't you let Mr. Zhang be the witness? We are not bragging about this heirloom, we really don't care about it." Mrs. Wen was secretly happy and immediately said loudly, "It's just you. You open a restaurant and snack shop and you think you're great." She took out a piece of jade and placed it on the table in front of Zhang Zhangqing. "This is the treasure of the Wen family. It was given to Princess Yenan by Emperor Weiren when she got married. There are 2 pieces in total, the front has the same pattern, and the back has the same pattern. One of the engravings reads, 'Stars grow to the north,' and the other reads, 'Sichuan flows eastward.' Today I was talking to Yan Zhu for a while. When I looked back, I saw that a piece was missing, but I didn't know that she had stolen it. The servant girl only found out just now after hearing someone tell her. Now, just look at her neck to see if it is the long star." Yan Zhu was really shocked when she saw Mrs. Wen taking out the jade. She thought she had lost the jade, so she quickly took it out to see that it was still there. Mrs. Wen had sharp eyes. "Look." She took it out. "This is it," she rushed up and wanted to get it dirty. As soon as he stretched out his hand, his arm went numb, followed by a sharp pain. How had she ever experienced this? At the moment, he folded his arms and screamed and jumped. When the old lady took out the jade, Wen Ruoqing's eyes turned dark. I quickly sat down, and when I saw Yan Zhu take it out, my head started to hurt, and I broke out in a sweat. Old Mrs. Wen quickly went over to help his old wife. Mrs. Wen had runny nose and tears streaming down her face. Crying to him, "They beat me in public. Can I still live? How wronged I have been by following you in this life. Old Master Wen has not suffered from this. Although he has no ability, he has been rich and idle all his life. When he is old, he suffers this humiliation in front of others." He heard the old lady complaining and murmured, "Follow me and suffer all your life. Then don't follow me. Where do you want to go and what do you want? It's up to you." After saying that, the old man turned around and walked away. "Are you leaving?" The old lady looked at him with tears in her eyes. "No. You can't leave. If he leaves, what will he do?" The old lady stumbled to catch up. Everyone looked at Wen Ruoqing and saw him sweating on his forehead. He stood up, staggered over and picked up the jade on the table. Looking at Yan Zhu again, Yan Zhu quickly took off his jade and gave it to him. He looked carefully, closed his eyes, and his body was still shaking. Yan Zhu quickly supported him. "Dad." Huza was anxious. "Sir, please don't get sick." Wen Ruoqing opened her eyes again, tears streaming down her face. Everyone is dumbfounded. "What do you mean? Does this jade really have something to say? Yan Zhu, you took your mother's surname? Your mother was called Yan Hui and Xin." His heart ached. At this moment, both Wen Yu and Yan Zhu were stunned. Hu Fei thought to himself, "Something bad will happen." "How do you know?" Yan Zhu asked. Wen Ruo started to cry softly, and was speechless. It's really ugly when he's crying, a grown man crying like that. Thinking about how he usually refuses to obey anyone and bullies whomever he catches. Everyone was so angry. "You have today, Let's see how arrogant you will be in the future. Oh my god. I. When Ruoking's brain felt as if something had pierced a layer of window paper, and light came in, and he could clearly see everything inside. Zuzu, where is your mother? He asked anxiously. Yanzu was stunned. My mother has passed away. Dead, really? When Ruoking shed even more tears. When you completely understood and couldn't help but sigh that the Creator always surprises people, Master. When, 18 years ago, my grandmother and mother saved a 4-month pregnant woman from the flood. Their name was Yan. Wisdom. She said she wanted to go home with her husband, but when a flood broke the dam, they were scattered. My grandfather had people post missing person notices around, but there was no news. Originally, the family wanted to provide some money and send her back to her parents' home or her husband's home. But she said that she and her father were dependent on each other, but when his father passed away, there was no one left in the family. The husband left home because he had conflicts with his family. I'm afraid her husband's family doesn't know that her husband married her. If she goes to find her, they probably won't recognize her. So, I stayed with my mother. Later, she and my mother died of illness. Old Mrs. Wen was scared to death when she heard this in the crowd. Why can't we let go of the past after so many years? She carefully recalled every detail of the past. Fortunately, there was no abuse of Yanzu at home. So, what should I do? She is a very clever person and knows how to seize the opportunity and rush out immediately. Master Wen, I am Wen Yu's grandmother. I don't know what Wen Yu said about her grandmother saving people in the first half. However, later, this section is quite real. When Wen Yu's mother got married, she took Yan Zhu's mother with her. The Wen family arranged a small courtyard to live in. Speaking of which, Miss Yanzu was really born in the Wen family. Yanzu's mother. Mrs. Wen recalled carefully and finally thought of something. She is good at making soup. When Wen Yu's mother was pregnant with her, she was very picky about food. Fortunately, Yan Zhu's mother was with her. The two of them are very good friends. Further on, an epidemic broke out in my family, and my daughter-in-law and Yanzu's mother died of the illness. From then on, the two young ladies were like real sisters, eating and living together. Miss Yanzu, come to class with my girl. She is literate and is good at embroidery. She also followed her mother's talent in making snacks and side dishes. Tisk, tisk, that's how this shop came to be. Master Wen's chest heaved even more after hearing this. That's right. Huixin was born to be a good cook. That year, I was young and energetic, so I left home and lived in the Zhangzhou area. Huixin's father is the money and food master of the government office. Father and daughter depend on each other for life. One day my father-in-law went out with the account book and his car overturned in the ditch. I happened to pass by and helped him, and I took the time to sort out the account. He was very grateful and invited me to dinner. I thought I was going to some restaurant, but in the end, he invited me to go home. That day, I ate the most delicious meal in my life. Haha, I actually stayed there just for this. The autumn breeze comes to my door every now and then. Later I found out that this dish was not made by the cook, but by his daughter. I was very embarrassed. I collected a lot of random things in the market and gave them away before I finally met her. Later, Mr. Yan married his only daughter to me. His tears haven't dried yet, but his face is red. How could it be so easy to marry him? The thick skin I have now was developed during that time. Later, Huixin got pregnant, and her father passed away. I thought that I had to give the child in my belly a life, so I planned to take her home. Zuzu. He pulled Yanzu. She is my biological daughter. God is considerate, I have a biological daughter. He whimpered and cried loudly. Yanzu was even more excited. Is this true? Ayu, Guyu, I wasn't dreaming, was I? Is this true? Wen Yu also burst into tears. I didn't dream, Zuzu, you found your father. You have a father. Hu Fei's face was full of colors. He wanted to say that you are dreaming, but this is a lie. But what I think more of is, it's really bad. On the last day of February, father and daughter recognized each other. Where is the Papa Ben? There is something going on at home, so what I wrote is not satisfactory. Sorry. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 269. Chapter 269 Blindness Plus 1. The whole process was so ups and downs that everyone followed with great interest and watched a great civil and military drama. Someone who is talented in literature has already typed up the manuscript and will write this bizarre story when he gets back. There were many discussions, and the scene was extremely lively. Some people were running downstairs one after another, delivering news. Hu Fei wanted to cry when he saw father and daughter recognizing each other. I feel happy for Yanzu, but also feel sad for myself. All this did not matter to Songshang. He sat aside, pouring himself a drink and looking around. At this moment, I was already a little dizzy. When Ruo finished crying and took Yanzu to sit on a chair, he looked at his daughter from head to toe as if no one else was around. He looked at her daughter from head to toe countless times before deciding. You look more like a father. Chi-ho was sitting on the side. At this moment, he didn't know that he would be the protagonist of an incident in the future, and he was just looking at people's jokes. Well, I don't know if I can still eat today's food and drinks, he said sourly. Chi-yu's heart was filled with excitement. This was so interesting. It's the capital after all. He'd love to be a part of it. MRSG accompanied Wen Yu. When she saw her father-in-law making a fuss, she said to Wen Yu, "Ayu, let's start the banquet. Everyone is waiting." Wen Yu quickly wiped his tears and directed Songshang, "Cousin, I'm sorry to bother you." Songshang shook his head resignedly, stood up, and went out to make arrangements. For a time, the aroma of wine overflowed and the food was served. How could Wen Ruoqing have the time to eat? She didn't even know what happened in the past 20 years. So he told Wen Yu, "Give us, father and daughter, a small room so we can have a good talk." As soon as he finished speaking, he cheered again, "Daughter, let's go back to the inn and talk." Turning around, he cupped his hands to the distinguished guests in this room. "Everyone, thank you for coming and witnessing Ruoqing's search for the palm bead." He thought to himself, well, the name Zuzu, well, is a good choice, I would like to consider it. Now, what is her last name? Ruoqing is too excited to entertain properly. Ruoqing will keep your friendship in mind. There are some dishes here that are my daughter's masterpieces. I hope everyone will support them. Ruoqing will take her daughter and leave first. Enough wine and food. Please bear with me. He kept talking about daughter and circled around to bow to everyone. Everyone stood up one after another. Congratulations to Ruoqing and his daughter on their reunion. Only someone as talented as Mr. Wen can give birth to a daughter who is both beautiful and talented. There is no tax on flattery, so everyone says nice things. Father and daughter have been separated for so many years, and it's really a blessing from heaven that they can meet and recognize each other like this. If it's more than 20 years, Mr. Wen and his daughter, please speak slowly. However, this is a good thing. You should pay attention to yourself and don't get too excited. Wen Ruoqing stood here and listened to a few good words before leaving with Yanzu. Hu Fei followed behind. Some people are also asking, who is this white-haired person? When they arrived at the inn, Wen Ruoqing pushed her daughter into the room first, and then locked Hu Fei out with a proud and contemptuous smile. Hu Fei's heart is cold. Now, the only thing he was glad about was that he had not fallen out with this father-in-law before. The subordinates also followed him. Seeing his confused look, they were afraid that he would fall ill. They were so frightened that they quickly said, "Sir, how about you go back and ask Mr. Shi for an idea?" He nodded helplessly. When you sat next to MRSG, tears still wanting to flow. When old MRS Wen saw her, she smiled and said, "Ayu, this is a great thing. You can't cry anymore. Miss Yanzu is a blessed one." Turning around, he said to MRSG, "Although that girl has lost her parents since she was a child, she behaves in a grand manner. She is not like ordinary girls, who just follow Mr. Wen. Ayu treats her very well. They both treat her very well. He tinkers around the house every day and does some work for me. I love it so much." Mr. Wen's words are commonplace for MRS Wen, but she is so happy that these can no longer affect her mood. She suddenly remembered, "Mom, Zuzu is more than a year older than my wife. What about her marriage?" "Silly girl," MRSG pointed at her forehead, "I have my own father. Marriage is the order of the parents. You and I have to lean back." Everyone burst into laughter. MRS Wen smiled even more beautifully, "That's right. You is really stupid," Aunt Chen said, "your uncle is going to be under pressure. As a godfather, he is no better than a real father. And, Zuzu has taken over the hairpin from your uncle and Aunt Mr. Wen wants to treat you and your uncle as real relatives." Aunt Chen was of course happy after hearing this. His son has passed the exam, and although the news has not come out yet, he feels good. "With Lord Wen and Lord Mo helping me, there is no need to worry about the future. It's all good things lately." She looked radiant. MRS Song also sighed, "I remember that when Ayu was a child, the two of them often lived in the Song family. These two little girls were so skinny. They climbed up trees, went down to lakes, climbed over walls and stomped. It looked like they were sunburned. Unexpectedly, they have grown up and become two beautiful and well-behaved girls." When Ruoqing looked at her daughter in front of her, feeling like her dream had come true. It took a while to calm down. "Tell your father everything." Yanzu didn't know where to start, so he started talking here and there. Since when Ruoqing has known Yanzu, he has never seen her sad. In the store, everyone was respectful and cheering. Wen Yu even treats her as a younger sister. Even the man named Song Shang treated her like his own sister. With Zuzu's appearance, Song Shang can do this, which shows that his character is quite good. Also, she mentioned Wen Yu's uncle and aunt, who were also called daddy and godmother. It seemed that they were also from a decent family. Not to mention Wen Yu, her own mother passed away early, her father was in exile, and she also had stepmother and stepsisters. It is understandable that life was difficult. But let alone the fact that they are so outstanding in appearance, the important thing is that they are so capable. It seems that MRS Wen is also a kind and cheerful person. Next time I see Wen Yu's father, I would like to talk more. If Wen Yu knew he thought this, he would definitely say, "You are really good at judging people, don't read it next time." "Oh, it's me and Hui Xian's daughter. She's good looking and smart, like me. She has a kind heart and dexterous hands, just like her mother." For a while, he just wrote down good people and good deeds in his notebook. Especially, he affirmed himself emphatically. I immediately felt that he didn't care about the Wen family or the Lu family. With me here, can I still provide her with a good life? If you can start your own business, then recruit a son-in-law. When you have grandsons, teach them yourself. Don't let those days be too beautiful. I don't even know where he was thinking. Just now, MRS Wen went out and got into the car, and the old lady followed closely. "Are you going to leave me like this? You are not allowed to leave." If you dare to leave, I will jump down right now. I just made a fuss. I just wanted to disgust him. The old man didn't even turn to her, so today's arrangement was in vain. She yelled, "Come back with me. This matter is not over yet." Old Master Wen stopped trying to persuade him and sat indifferently. After a while, someone came to report, "Old man. This is terrible." Old Mrs. Wen was startled. "Speak quickly. That girl Yanzu. What's wrong with her? Say it quickly. It turns out that she is your biological daughter. When you saw the jade pendant, you remembered everything. Miss Yanzu took her mother's surname. You got married in the south and married the daughter of a money and grain master from Jianzhong Prefecture." After hearing this, Old Man Wen thought carefully, then pointed at the stunned old lady and laughed loudly. "Did you hear that? You have done a great thing and created an opportunity for the father and daughter to recognize each other. This time, she's not a goddaughter, she's a biological daughter. Are you satisfied?" "No, no, why?" Old Mrs. Wen definitely didn't believe it. "Why? When you knew that the piece of jade was around Yanzhu's neck, you didn't think that it might be his daughter. He has been out for several years, but he hasn't married a wife and had children. No. It's impossible. At that time, I asked him carefully. When I found him, he was penniless, dressed in rags, and stupid. How could he marry a wife? How could he have children? After he came back, I haven't even looked for it. That's because he was injured and sick, he forgot a lot of things. It's impossible. He's obviously very smart. Otherwise, how could he be so popular with the emperor? He's deceiving people, he's setting up a trap, he wants to win over the Wen family." Old Mrs. Wen's conspiracy theory breakout. Old Mrs. Wen was calm. If he wants to deceive people, can't he bring a boy back? Old Mrs. Wen was stuck. No. He's lying, he. Finally she couldn't hold on anymore and fainted. Mr. Wen ignored her and said, "You are blind and cruel. Are you going to get hurt this time? Go back to your house first." End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 270. Chapter 270 Where to go. While Wen Yu was eating, someone came over and said, "Master Wen and Miss Yanzu, please come over." Wen Yu walked over there and asked someone to bring some side dishes and a bottle of wine. Going to the inn corridor, I saw poor Hu Fei standing there. Wen Yu paused and said, "Mr. Hu, please go over and have something to eat first. Zuzu has found her biological father, which is a great joy for her." "Your expression is a bit inappropriate." Unexpectedly, Hu Fei nodded, "You're right, I'll go over right away." After that, he actually went out to eat. Wen Yu felt funny, shook her head, and entered the room. Father and daughter, they couldn't finish talking. When Ruoking saw Wen Yu coming in, got dressed and saluted, "Wen Yu, thank you for your family's help in saving the lives of your wife and daughter." Wen Yu hurriedly avoided it and replied, "Why do you need to do this, sir? Zuzu is my biological sister. We are not outsiders." Wen Ruo nodded lightly, "I also know a little bit about her temperament. She is innocent and good-natured. She can be like this because you protect her well. We just have our own strengths. There's no way I can match Zuzu's skills. If nothing else, the dim sum shop is supported by her." Yanzu was a little embarrassed to be praised. Au teaches his daughter to settle accounts, but she can't learn it. She's stupid. Wen Ruo pointed at her lightly and was speechless for a long time. "Your father and I are running rampant in the court just by settling accounts. Sometimes even the emperor has no choice but you. It doesn't matter, my father will teach you." "Ah, you can't learn." Yanzu waved her hands repeatedly. Everyone laughed. When you said, the days are long and there are many things we can talk about slowly. Wen Ruoking was very satisfied with this sentence. Thinking that this will be every day from now on, he is indeed beautiful. It's just, what's going on with this old lady of the Wen family? Wen Yu's face darkened. Wen Ruoking's expression also changed. He was silent for a while. Actually, I am not Wen Jieze. Wen Yu and Yanzu were both surprised. My biological parents are Mrs. Wen's maiden brother-in-law. At that time, she had not been pregnant for many years, and she was under great pressure in front of her mother-in-law. She finally got pregnant, but the doctor found out that it was a girl. By coincidence, my biological mother and her mother, Mrs. Lu, came up with an idea. Steal a dragon and turn a phoenix into a phoenix. Well, she looked for an opportunity to give birth to a child in her natal family, and Mrs. Lu gave my biological mother inducing labor medicine. That's it, my father treated me like a treasure. But she was good and bad, and I didn't pay much attention. Just over 10 years later, she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. In this way, I would be redundant. She didn't dare to expose the matter and couldn't drive me away, so she wanted to kill me. Not killed. Oh my God, Wen Yu and Yanzu were both surprised. Why is she so cruel? This is a human life. She raised it herself. Yanzu was very angry. This old lady is very bad. Wen Ruoking looked at her daughter and nodded. I was lucky enough to survive, so my biological mother found out, and she told me all this. I was hit hard, and ran away from home. Later, I met Zuzu's mother. When you come back, you will already have a wife and daughter. Well, I was discovered and brought back, so I told my father exactly what happened. He didn't know it before. He didn't know. He was so cruelly deceived by this old lady. It was him who cried and persuaded me to stay. Although he was incompetent and afraid of the old lady, he was very sincere to me. The same thing happened when I was killed. He found and saved me, so I stayed on the condition that I would not pay attention to the wife that the old lady gave me. That means that the wife is her biological daughter. When you understood. Huh, is there such a thing? Yanzu stared at her beautiful eyes. Wen Ruoking liked her look so much that she nodded. It's so bloody. My biological mother was very angry about her son being taken away, so she treated her daughter badly and even married her into an unworthy family. After the death of her youngest son, her tribe came to seize the inheritance. So, I am her son again. She pressured that family, let her daughter go home, and married her back to me. At that time, many people in the capital laughed at her, but she didn't care. Later, he also planned to recruit a son-in-law for Wen Xiongui, but the Wen family members objected so fiercely that they had to marry her to the Yuan family. Now, what do you want Yanzu to be named? Wen Yu asked. Wen Ruoking looked at the rational Wen Yu and his daughter, who blinked her beautiful eyes and didn't understand at all. She is really cute and charming. Love her and love everything about her. I hope to set up my own business, but where is the discussion? Lord Wen, no matter what, we cannot let Zuzu live under the hands of Mrs. Wen, nor let her call that woman her mother. This is natural. Is there anyone in Wen Xionggui's family still alive? I don't know about this. Then let me go and inquire. Wen Yu said with a smile, as long as there is still one person, then let me go. Old Mrs. Wen fell ill when she returned home. Her biological daughter was abused by Wen Ruoking's mother when she was in the boudoir. If Mrs. Lu hadn't suppressed her, she probably wouldn't have survived. When she grew up and got married, her husband drank and gambled, which was not good for her. So she has a cowardly temperament and can't stand up to trouble. When he saw that his mother-in-law was sick, he panicked. Wen Xiongui had been waiting for good news, but in the end he received a thunderbolt from the blue sky. He was surrounded by the old lady and was about to cry without tears. Mr. Wen sent someone to ask Wen Ruoking to go back, but where was Wen Ruoqing free? This matter about him reached the ears of the emperor, who made him laugh a lot. The queen was summoning her again, and Yanzu was very nervous, but Wen Yu was busy with her own affairs and told her, even if the queen asks you to go, she may not necessarily see you. So don't be afraid. The gossip of the capital is powerful. There is a family named Wang, who ran to Dali Temple and found Zhang Zhongqing. Sue a lawsuit against the Wen family, together with Mr. Wen Ruoqing, for taking away wives and daughters by force. Those who came were none other than Wen Xianggui's father, Wang Xiali, her grandmother, uncles, and aunts. All of them were well dressed and burst into tears. Wang Xiali has a lot of money in his pocket and plans to go to the casino after finishing his complaint. He said that the Wen family threatened him with the lives of the whole family, so that he could not reconcile with the Xiaolu family. Then she wanted to take away his beloved biological daughter, and he didn't dare to respond. So much so that in the next few years, he would always wander outside the gates of the Wen family and the Yuan family, just wanting to see his own flesh and blood. He expressed his feelings about how much he missed his wife, saying that he never remarried, etc. His younger brother and his wife knelt behind him, thinking that the eldest brother is really good at acting, but you just married and died later. Didn't marry again? So where did your son come from? But, the Good Samaritan was extremely generous, and gave him a large sum of money when he came up. And he also said that if the mother and daughter were to be brought back, there would be a big yard to send them off to. As a result, the family became more noisy. Master Wen, who had just returned from the morning court, was invited. He pushed 625, saying that he had no idea about having a wife and daughter. Of the two women around his mother, he always thought that the older one was recognized by his mother as his adopted daughter, while the younger one followed his mother and called him adopted father. Everyone thought about it for a long time, but they still didn't understand what the relationship was. However, why did the Wen family like to recognize their adopted daughter so much? You will recognize them as relatives if you recognize them yourself. Isn't this also a relative? Suddenly, new rumors arose again. Mr. Wen was so frightened that he came to take him home in person. Rather than saying it was a conversation between father and son, it was better to say that Wen Ruoqing was making conditions. I don't mind making this matter public. I think the Lu family would also like me to recognize my ancestor and return to the clan. But my biological parents are no longer here, and I don't want to go back. What I want more is to start my own business. Then, I want to sue Mrs. Lian and her mother, Mrs. Lu, for taking away my son and killing others. Old Master Wen was shocked when he heard this. If this was really the case, he would never have a good day in his lifetime. Ruoqing. He said miserably, Dad is so old, but he can't bear it anymore. What do you think we can do to get over it? Things cannot pass, it is just a choice of what is more important. You say it, Dad will listen to you. First, the old lady practices in the temple and is not allowed to go out again for the rest of her life. Second, my marriage to Xiaolu is invalid. She will either return to the Wang family or accompany the old lady. Third, when Xiangui removes her clan name, in addition to the dowry she took away, she can also subsidize some silver, but the Wen family property she received must be returned. Fourth, I will take good care of you in your old age. After 100 years, I will gradually transfer the family property to Wen Jicheng. After I die, everything will belong to the Wen family. I will raise my daughter by myself, without spending a tael of money from the Wen family. Oh, why are you doing this? I promise you. Just let Yanzu return to the Wen family, and you can recruit a son-in-law. If you want to marry outside, she will take half of the Wen family away. I just ask you not to abandon Dad. Looking at the old man Wen, who was in tears, Wen Ruoqing had nothing to do. Okay, I'll listen to you. Dad, You have a granddaughter. She has good conduct and is a good cook. She will take good care of you. Okay, okay, Dad is very happy. The old woman has a hard time living a good life, and her methods are vicious. It was in vain that I was devoted to her, but she lied to me from beginning to end. Now, I can't care about her anymore. End of this chapter.